Hello, I see Andrew and someone else. Can I know the name, please? Who is calling today?
I'm here, Julene, but I don't have my video on.
Hi, Juliana. That's totally fine. Can you see and hear me properly?
Perfectly.
Perfect. Hi. Thank you for joining me today. Very nice to kind of meet you online, virtually online. Thank you for joining. Andrew and
Lindsay and Andrew.
Hi, guys. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Very good. Very excited to bake today with you guys. Thank you for joining. Isaac is here as well. Hi, Isaac. Hello. Hi. We can hear each other and we can see each other as well, right? Perfect. Great. Natalie, we are waiting for more people, right?
We are, I think we're waiting for one more person. Let me quickly just check.
Sure, no worries. No rush. We have time. It's 5:30 p.m. in Park City, Utah, right? I'm calling from New York, where I live right now. So we have 7:30. I'll have a late night treat tonight. Thank you very much for joining me today, guys. While we are waiting for one more guest to join today, I introduce myself. My name is Lenka, and I'm from Slovakia. That's where I've been born and raised, and that's where the pastries we're making today is originally from Slovakia. Collages are our most traditional sweet pastry from yeast-based dough. So today we are working with yeast. I was born and raised on collages. Traditionally, we eat them for breakfast. We bake them in a big batch over weekend on Saturday, Sunday, and then we eat them almost every day for breakfast with milk or with coffee, with tea. So you will have a delicious treat tonight and maybe something left for breakfast for tomorrow. My connection to Park City is actually, I met my husband there and we lived there for a little bit. I was living in Park City and I very much miss the place. But I was just telling Natalie that probably next month I will be moving back to Park City, which I'm very excited. So maybe we'll get to see each other, maybe even in person, and I get a chance to teach you something else if you would be interested in traditional Slovak cuisine. Megan is here as well. Hi, Megan.
Hello. I wanted to hop on for just a quick second and say thank you to Lenka for sharing your recipe with us this evening, and thank you to everyone for joining. So I hope you guys enjoy the evening. Lenka, your recipes look amazing. So I unfortunately am not making this tonight, so I'm relying on Natalie to hopefully bring me a taste. Anyways, I just wanted to hop on and say hello. Thank you guys again and have a great class.
Thank you, Megan. I heard Natalie's making double batch, so maybe she'll say something. Perfect.
I was just going to say I made this one other time with Lenka and it is delicious. My friends came over afterwards and they ate all of it. So I need to make a double batch this time so that I can have some for myself, a little bit more for myself. And I was just going to let you know too, we are waiting for one more person, Amanda, but she might come a little bit late. So I think we can get started if you're ready.
Okay, great. So I would suggest let's start. When Amanda joins us in a bit, I'll go with her through all process separately. But because all of us are here already and ready, let's just start. Before we start, I'll very quickly go through all ingredients that we would need for collages tonight, just to make sure that we have everything we need around us. And we would need a white flour, all-purpose flour or bread flour, preferably not gluten-free flour, okay? If anyone is interested in gluten-free version of collages, I can share it with you after class separately. But gluten-free flour works a little bit differently, just so we know. Milk, I use usually whole milk, but any milk that you have at home works, can be skim as well. Sugar, white or brown sugar, preferably not coconut sugar, as we are working with yeast. And I'll explain that coconut sugar and yeast are not the best friends for some reasons. So white or brown sugar works perfectly. Pinch of salt. We'll need some butter. If your butter is still in the fridge, please take it out. We want it to be at room temperature. Eggs. We'll need 2 eggs, but we only use egg yolks today. So 2 eggs. Very important, yeast. Either active dry yeast or fresh yeast work best. Please just let me know if any of you are using instant yeast. That would be a little bit different process that we would use. But if you have active dry yeast or fresh yeast, that is preferred. And 1 lemon. If you have it, it's great. 1 lemon. Perfect. Last question before we start. Are we guys using measuring cups or are we using scales tonight? What do we have? I have here scale, 14 grams.
Measuring cups.
Measuring cups, okay. Okay, scale and measuring cups. I enjoy showing scale. Okay, I'm going to speak today in both grams and cups. Isaac is using cups. Okay, I'm going to speak in both cups and measuring cups and grams, and please use whatever you have. And I see that our last guest for tonight joined as well.
Hi there.
Hi, Charlie, Amanda.
Yes, I'm Amanda, sorry.
Okay, good. Thank you for joining us tonight. Amanda, can you see me? Can you hear me properly?
Yes, I can.
Perfect. Just so you know, your camera is off. It's totally up to you if you want to turn it on or not.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that you can see and hear me.
Okay, got it. Yep.
Perfect. Thank you for joining, Amanda. Are we ready to start bake tonight?
Yes.
Yes. Perfect. Do you guys know each other, by the way?
Yes, hi, Amanda.
Oh, Andrew! Hey! Small world! Hey,
Just
Lindsay!
met like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Here we are.
Over.
Andrew!
That's
Awesome.
perfect. Great. You guys can compare to Collages after the class.
Yeah.
All of us will. We'll see what we get. Perfect. Let's start, guys. Let's move and start with baking tonight. Traditional Slovak Kolaches. And we start with preparing polish, which is dissolving or hydrating our yeast in a milk and sugar. And for that, we need a bowl, preferably bowl that you can microwave. So it should be either glass or ceramic bowl. Okay, small bowl, big like this. Big bowl, and into the bowl we are scaling 100 grams of milk or half a cup of milk. Okay, 100 grams of milk or half a cup of milk into the bowl. $100 grams of milk, which is roughly half a cup of milk. Okay.
Small world.
Guys, I see that most of you are on mute. Anytime you have a question, please feel free to unmute yourself and just ask a question. I'm here for you to answer any of your questions. Don't worry about the yeast. We'll make it work. I promise. There are just few simple steps that we need to follow. Make sure that our yeast will grow and bubble. So we have 100 grams or half a cup of milk in a bowl. We are adding 20 grams of sugar, which is roughly 2 tablespoons. 20 grams of sugar or roughly 2 tablespoons of sugar into the bowl. Okay. And beauty of this recipe is that you don't have to be super precise, okay? This is making pastry. This is not like making French macarons, for example, where you have to be precise to each gram. If you put 2-3 grams less or more, it's totally fine. Okay, so we have half a cup of milk and 2 tablespoons of sugar in a bowl, and let's go ahead and microwave this mixture for some 30 to 40 seconds just to make it warm. Okay, so I'm microwaving my mixture. 100 grams of milk, 20 grams of sugar together in a bowl, and we are microwaving it for 30 to 40 seconds just to make it warm. And in the meantime, we can grab those yeast. So please look for your yeast. We have a lot of helping hands around. I'm very happy to see it. Great, perfect. Very welcome, whole family, to join us at tonight's baking session. I see that you guys have same yeast as I have. Perfect, Red Star. So we are using active dry yeast. And whoever's milk is ready and nice and warm can grab a spoon, tablespoon or teaspoon, whatever you have at home or around you, and just mix it a couple times. Just couple times mix that sugar in a warm milk, just to dissolve it a little bit, okay? So we're dissolving the sugar in a warm milk, mixing it a couple times, and we'll be adding our yeast into the milk soon. Now, before we do it, important thing, anytime you're working with yeast, active dry yeast or fresh yeast, it's very important to be sure that your liquid has the right temperature. How do you test it? You put your finger in your milk. It's hot. I can feel that it's hot, but it's not burning me. I can hold my finger in that milk for 2-3 seconds without being burned, okay? Couple times. This is good temperature to add yeast into the milk. Okay, so it's hot because it's warmer than my body temperature, but I can hold like 2-3 seconds my finger in a milk. That's a good temperature to add yeast. Now we can go ahead and add all that package, which is roughly 7 grams of dry yeast into that milk, okay? So I'm opening a package and I'm adding all that amount. Whole package, which is roughly 7 grams. If you want to be precise and scale it, we'll be adding 7 grams or 2 teaspoons of dry yeast. If you're ever working with the yeast in bulk, then you would use 2 teaspoons, okay? And we are just adding it into our milk. And we are grabbing a teaspoon again and mixing those yeast in a warm milk. Now, what is the difference between fresh and dry yeast? The only difference is that dry yeast are more concentrated, so we are using less of them, exactly 2.5 times less, because they are 2.5 times more concentrated. Whatever I'm talking about, guys, if you are interested in recipe, in these technical notes, I can send it after the class to your emails, okay, shared with you, so you don't have to take notes and remember all of that. Boring information, you can just have it in your paper next time when you're making the collages. Okay, so we are mixing everything together in a bowl, roughly. And if we mix those yeasts in a milk a couple times, you can grab a plastic wrap or aluminum foil, whatever you have at home, and cover this bowl with a plastic wrap or aluminum foil just to trap that warmth and humidity in a bowl, okay? That's what we are doing. So I'm grabbing my plastic wrap and I'm covering bowl with milk, sugar, and yeast. I'm covering it and I'm placing it right next to me on my work desk in a kitchen for a couple of minutes while we are mixing other dry ingredients.
I have some clumps in the yeast. Is that normal?
That's totally fine. That's totally fine, Nancy. You don't have to worry about that. It will dissolve, it will bubble and become frothy after a couple of minutes. So bulks of chunks of yeast, that's totally fine.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for your question. We are putting that bowl with yeast that we just mixed, which is called polish, by the way, next to us and waiting for a couple of minutes for them to activate. In the meantime, we are combining other dry ingredients together. If you guys are using standing mixer today to help you with kneading, you will need this hook attachment, okay, to knead your dough. You will need this. You can definitely hand knead. At some point, all of us will be hand kneading a little bit just to incorporate that butter into the dough. So hand kneading is totally fine, but if you're using standing mixer, grab your bowl from standing mixer. If you're not using standing mixer, if you're hand kneading, you can then grab any big bowl that you have at home, whatever you have, okay? And And we are scaling into the bowl 400 grams of flour, which is roughly 3 cups, okay? If you're using cups, don't try to pack that flour in a cup, just scoop or spoon that flour into the cups and dump it all at the same time into the bowl. You don't have to sift it, okay? Just add that flour into the bowl all at once. So 400 grams or 3 cups, 3 cups.
If you're using the flour that I measured for you, it's more than 3 cups. So make sure you still measure, okay?
Thank you, Natalie. Yes, so anyway, if you're using cups, it's never as precise as using scale. So we'll need to check on your dough while we are making and kneading, okay? How it looks at what we need to adjust, what ingredients, how we need to change the dough in a way that it behaves as it should. Let's not be focused that much on exact amounts because it's always a little bit different. It depends what kind of flour you're using, what brand, as I learned. By the way, guys, if you're making this next time, one flour that doesn't work for this recipe, as I learned, is Gold Star. I'm not sure what kind of brand you have today, but from my experience, that flour doesn't really work very well, so I don't recommend using that one. All-purpose flour, organic, whole foods. Yes, that's great flour to work with for this particular recipe, okay? So we have 400 grams of flour or 3 cups of flour in a bowl. We are adding 20 grams of sugar or roughly 2 tablespoons directly into that bowl with the flour. And anytime you're working with these, preferred sugar is white or brown. Try to stay away from coconut sugar for pastries. Reason why is that it's simply because yeast, for their production and for their growth, they need to eat a sugar, sucrose. When they eat that sugar, they release CO2 that leaves your dough. And coconut sugar is just 70% sucrose, 30% of molasses, so it's not the same, okay? Just so you remember. Pinch of salt, a little bit of salt into the flour mixture. I'm not even scaling it, it's like 1 gram, it's a little bit pinch. I'm using salt to all recipes, sweet or savory, so don't be afraid to use some salt, even to sweet recipes. And last ingredient that was traditionally not in my grandma's recipe, because this is my grandma's recipe, but my mom started to shred some lemon zest into the dough, and it provides very nice flavor and smell. So if you want to, you can go ahead and shred some lemon zest directly into the bowl with your flour, sugar, and salt, okay? If you want to shred some lemon, I see that, yeah, the shredder that Natalie is using, I see it's great because it shreds very small or tiny pieces. Yes, exactly, of the lemon zest. And I have some lemon zest pre-shredded here, so I'll just put it there. And so if you want, and if you have lemon at home, you can add it there. And once you did it, you can just grab a spoon and mix all dry ingredients together in a bowl, okay? So I'll repeat one more time what we did. We combined some flour, sugar, salt, and lemon zest together in a bowl. And just a technical note, anytime you're working with yeast, if you're making pastry or bread, doesn't matter. You never want to put salt directly into the bowl where your yeasts are, because salt deactivates the yeast, okay? So you always want to put your salt or add your salt separately to other ingredients, and later you are ready to safely add your yeasts into the mixture, okay? Just so you know. Perfect. Great work. From now on, we are just adding ingredients without mixing. We start kneading right away. So we are not mixing from this point anything. We are just adding milk, another half amount of milk, which is another 100 grams or another half a cup of milk directly into the bowl with flour mixture. Okay, so I'm adding another 100 grams or half a cup of milk into the bowl with flour. Okay. So half a cup of milk or 100 grams of milk directly into this bowl. And now a little bit technical part, we cracking 2 eggs. So we are separating egg yolks from egg whites, and we are only adding 2 egg yolks directly into the bowl with flour and milk, okay? So we're cracking 2 eggs, separating egg yolk from egg whites, and we are only using 2 egg yolks, yellow parts, that we are adding directly into the bowl. Let's do it now. You can save your egg whites for some nice egg white omelette or maybe good cocktail, whiskey sour for later. But for our recipe and our pastry, we don't really need to add any egg whites, only egg yolks. The reason why we do it, it's simply because all fatty part of the egg is in egg yolk. And egg yolk provides our pastry with very nice texture and very soft crumb. That's why we are only using egg yolks in this recipe, 2 egg yolks. Great. Perfect. And whoever did it, I would love to see what happened with those yeasts in a bowl. If there is any activity, what do we see if we take out that cover and we check on the yeast if they are alive and if they grew at all. So I'm going to show you my yeast closer to camera just to show you that frothiness on the top. It's nice and frothy, bubbly. Natalie, great, looks good. Bubbles are there. You should smell nice and yeasty smell. It should smell strong. Andrew, Nancy, what do we have? I see some bubbles on the top. Yes. Amanda, can I see as well? What? Yeah. Oh, wow. That grows, guys, is like nice. Perfect. Perfect. Looks good. Okay. Yeah. Good. Do you guys smell yeasty smell? Do you smell? Does your milk mixture smells yeasty? This is how we test, okay, if our yeasts are alive and if we are ready to use them. If you see frothiness and bubbles on the top, that's a good sign that yeasts are fresh and we are ready to use them. So you can go ahead and pour that yeast mixture directly into your bowl. Make sure to get everything out. Okay, make sure to get everything out from the bowl. Okay, we're getting out everything from the bowl. And now if you're using standing mixer, mix all of that we have in a bowl with a spatula or with a spoon a couple times before you put it on standing mixer, okay? So if you're using standing mixer, just mix your ingredients a couple times with a spoon just to incorporate everything together. And then you can put everything on your standing mixer and mix or knead for maybe 4 or 5 minutes, and we'll check on the dough. Knead it on a medium speed, okay? You'll knead it on a medium speed. And we'll check how the dough looks after some time. And I'll be kneading tonight with my hand just to be able to show you how the dough should look, how it should slowly start come together and start to incorporate together. So I'll be hand kneading, and whoever feels like hand kneading tonight can join me. Okay, feel free to join me. So we are just incorporating everything together, either with your standing mixer or with your hand. Making sure that all ingredients are slowly coming together. They are wetting up. Okay. Natalie, I have to try that mixer. I have the same thing at home, but I never tried it. And I see that it very nicely incorporates the dough very fast. Yeah.
Yeah, I used it last time and it worked great, so I'm using it again.
It's nice.
I usually just put it on for like a few seconds because it moves so quickly, and then I take it out and hand knead it.
Okay, great. Yeah, you can do it too, guys. If you want to just keep kneading in your standing mixer until everything is roughly incorporated, and then take it out and just try to knead it with your hands, I bend in my camera a little bit lower just so you see what I got so far. Natalie, so far looks good. Try to knead it a little bit longer with your hands. Okay. And you know how well your mixer incorporates your dough. If I'm working with smaller batches, I always prefer hand kneading. I find it easier. Okay. So slowly your ingredients should be coming together. Okay. I'm bringing my dough closer to camera now just to show you what I have so far. Okay, it's slowly coming together. It's slowly coming together. This is what I got so far. Maybe some of you have drier dough. Maybe some of you have more sticky dough that it's sticking to your fingers. Don't worry about that. We'll be adjusting amount of ingredients accordingly to how your dough looks and feels. As well, elevation is important, as I found out. I've been to Park City 2 weeks ago. I was delivering some classes, and the dough was brewing very nicely, but it didn't bake quite the same as I do it maybe here in New York, where I'm right now. So the elevation affects actually baking. One of the things that you will do differently than me is that your temperature in the oven will be set to slightly higher than mine. That's what you want to do when you're working with pastry, and especially if you're higher elevation. Okay, that is the only difference. And as well, temperature. I'm not sure how cold is there right now. If it's warmer, the dough proofs faster. If it's colder, the dough needs longer time to proof. So that is the difference. Okay. But otherwise, we're using same ingredients. And the difference between me and you is that I'm using just half amount of ingredients that you are. That's why I managed to knead everything pretty fast. Reason why, it's simply because I would end up with so many collages every day, and my husband doesn't want to eat them anymore. So I have to cut on the amount of ingredients that I'm using. But otherwise, we're making the very same dough. And this is what I got so far. Okay, so my dough is incorporated, it's holding together, it's not sticking to my hands or fingers, as you can see. Okay, and my bowl is clean, there's no flour on the bottom of the bowl. Okay, so if any of you wants to bring your camera or your dough closer to cameras, just so I can see. Okay, I'm checking on Isaac's. More flour there. Definitely, I would add 3 tablespoons of flour, keep kneading, and see how it came together. Okay, but more flour, 3-4 tablespoons there. And you, Nancy, can I see that? That looks good. That looks good already. Can you press to the dough? Perfect, looks good. We are ready to add butter there. Just a second, Amanda, can I see your dough, please? Can you press to it? Okay, good, good, good. Looks good. Okay, it's incorporated. Seems to be a little bit on the drier side. We might add a little bit more butter to your dough. Not more milk, more butter. Amanda, if you can knead 2 minutes more before we add that butter, would be great. Sorry, Natalie, I missed your dough. Can you show it to me? Can you press to it? Can you like squeeze it? Yes, okay, soft, pliable. Good, good, good. Looks good. Okay. So, Natalie, Andrew, Nancy, you guys can go ahead and scale 60 grams of butter, which is roughly 4.5 tablespoons. Chop it on smaller pieces, put it on top of your dough, and start to incorporate that butter into the dough with hands, okay? You start with hands. Amanda, you can do the same thing after a minute, but with 70 grams of butter, which will be roughly 5.5 tablespoons. Okay. Julene, I cannot see your dough. If you think that you have something like this, okay, it's not sticky, it's nice and soft, you can do the same thing, add your butter to it, and keep incorporating that butter into the dough.
Sounds good. Mine looks good.
Perfect. If it looks good, you can definitely move on with the butter. Okay. Now, if you guys are adding butter, I'll just bend my camera a little bit lower so you see what we'll do with butter, okay? You're scaling your butter, 60 or 70 grams, and you can chop it on smaller pieces or even break it with your fingers if it's at room temperature. Put it on top of your dough and just literally start to incorporate that butter into the dough first by hands, okay? I prefer doing this by hands first because standing mixer not always incorporates the butter from the beginning very well. So once you incorporate manually with your hands that dough into the, that butter into the dough, and I know it's a little bit weird, then you can transfer all of this on your standing mixer, okay? Let's just try to incorporate it with hands a little bit, okay? It's a little bit of gym, I know. It's a little bit of workout, but not for too long, I promise. Isaac, how that dough looks now after we added some flour? I would love to see it. Much better. Okay, I would still add tablespoon of flour. Once that flour is incorporated, we are ready to add butter, okay? And I'm not sure if it's butter next to the dough that's melted, but it shouldn't be melted butter, okay? Room temperature butter. Okay, that's egg whites, okay. No worries, I just wanted to let you know, guys. Okay, butter should be always at room temperature. If you add butter out from the fridge, the only difference will be that it will be harder to incorporate it. It will take longer time, but otherwise can be as well colder butter, preferably, rather than melted, okay? So, and whoever started to add the butter, Amanda, I'm not sure if you started with butter, but you can definitely move on with butter at this point. 70 grams or 5.5 tablespoons of butter. I prefer using unsalted butter for this recipe, but I work with salted butter as well. It's not such a big difference. Just so you know, you would not add any salt to your dough if you would happen to have just salted butter. That's the only difference, okay? And I'm going to bring my dough closer to camera now just to show you that the butter is incorporated, okay? I don't see chunks of butter on my dough. I don't see chunks of butter. Dough is no more greasy. It doesn't feel greasy, but still feels very sticky. It's not shiny, so I need to knead it more. Whoever got to this point that you don't see chunks of butter on your dough, you can transfer it to your standing mixer, okay? I see weird faces kneading that dough by hand, so don't worry, you can definitely put it on your standing mixer. It's easier, okay? As well, you're working with a big amount of dough, bigger than mine, okay? So, Andrew, guys.
Did you say it shouldn't be greasy? It's super greasy, like lots of butter.
It's a lot of butter. The dough will be very, let's say, we call it enriched dough, okay? In like a baking vocabulary, it's not a greasy, it's enriched. But it doesn't feel like when you start it, okay? It doesn't feel like your hands are not greasy, okay? The dough is not separated into small pieces. It came back together. Can I sit closer, please? Okay, can you press to it? Let's put it on standing mixer. We can put it on standing mixer. Sorry?
More butter?
I would not put more butter at this point. Let's keep kneading it. Kneading is very important, okay? Kneading definitely, totally, and completely change the texture of the dough. So you feel free to knead either with your hands or with your standing mixer, but don't skip that step, okay? Kneading is very, very important. While we knead, we're developing the gluten in the dough, so kneading is very important. Either hand kneading or, that looks good. That looks good, Isaac, perfect. You're skilled with kneading. Very nice work. Let's keep kneading. And very nice, soft and pliable dough. Good, looks good. But we need to knead for a little bit longer, okay? Natalie, your dough looks great too. Let's keep kneading a little bit more. And we are done. Natalie, minute or two more with your hands and that will be great. I'm hand kneading here myself. Just to make sure at this point, everyone should have butter in their doughs, in your doughs, okay? And we're kneading. Amanda, how that looks? Is that dough more pliable and soft? Okay, good, good, good. Can you squeeze it for me? Yes, perfect. All it needs is a little bit more kneading. Okay, so my dough was same, Amanda, and it's becoming slowly more shiny, less like having kind of pieces of flour and butter in it. So more kneading and it will be good. Andrew, Nancy, it looks good, but it needs more kneading. Definitely more kneading. Once you can see that your dough is nice and shiny, kind of shiny, it will be, kneading will be done, but still needs more kneading. Feel free to put on your standing mixer. You guys don't have to do this with hands, okay? That's why we have standing mixers. The standing mixer does the same work, okay, for us. So feel free to put it on your standing mixer on a medium to higher speed, and keep kneading for next 3-4 minutes on your standing mixer, and we are done with kneading, okay? So, perfect, Amanda. Yes, exactly. It's changing. You can see how the texture and structure is changing. Looks great. 2-3 minutes and we're done. Natalie, you're done with kneading. Can you show your dough, Natalie? It's becoming like kind of shiny, uniform. Yes, 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 exactly. Very nice. Perfect. Good, Natalie. As we are not proving the dough for too long today, Natalie, you can leave your dough on your work desk. Just cover it if you have a clean towel or plastic foil for that couple of minutes that you're waiting for us. You can do it. Isaac, can I see it? Very nice, pliable, soft dough. Perfect. 1 more minute and we are done with kneading. Great. Looks good already. We're finishing up the kneading. You can see how the texture of the dough changed from when we added butter compared to right now. Okay. So really you can tell that and see that kneading is crucial when working with any yeast-based dough or bread or mostly yeast-based doughs. From yeast-based doughs you have a pastries, okay? You make a pastries, so it's very important. Another test, just a simple test, how to test if you need it for long enough, you see that you pull your dough, and if it's not breaking right away, if it's nice and elastic, that's well kneaded dough as well, okay? Nice, perfect, Isaac, that's done as well. We are done with kneading there. Amanda looks good, perfect, well kneaded. Julian as well, if you see your dough, it should be nice and soft. Pliable. Nancy, very nice, perfect, good, looks good. Looks good, guys. For the first time, very nice work. I'm happy that you're not scared working with yeast because it's sometimes kind of like not favorite thing of people, and people are usually scared working with yeast, but if you follow a few simple rules, it's nothing terrible work with yeast, okay? So whoever is satisfied with the dough can put it into the same bowl where you kneaded it, or just on your work desk right next to you, as we are going to work with this dough in a couple of minutes. Let's take a minute, just wash our hands. If you want to wash your work desk, grab a rolling pin, okay? Grab a rolling pin, that's what we need. We'll still need some flour around us. We'll need that delicious jam that you guys got for filling. And you know your ovens. We will need to preheat ovens to 350 to 370 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so if you're not sure how strong your oven bakes, maybe I would keep it on 350 up to 360. If you know that your oven perhaps doesn't bake very strong or is not well calibrated, then feel free to put it to 370. Okay. So we're preheating our ovens as well.
Lena, while you're cleaning up, is this the same recipe you would use if you were making savory collages?
That would be the same one, exactly. Thank you, Julian, for the question. This dough, it's not very sweet, right? It only has 40 grams of sugar to 400 grams of flour. So this is a base dough for, I would say, most of the traditional Slovak pastries. Not just collages that can be sweet or savory, but for example, I teach babka, Polish babka from the same dough. Babka is basically sweet braided bread. Maybe some of you know or ever had babka. It's a sweet bread. It's filled with variety of fillings, traditionally with chocolate, cinnamon butter, or walnuts. So that will be the same dough. And to your question, Julene, yes, that dough can be used for the savory collages too. Very nice dough, Isaac. Beautiful. For savory options, just so you know for next time, a most traditional one is that we do is salted sauerkraut or sour cabbage that we saute on the pan with some butter and cumin seeds. Another very nice filling for the savory collages is feta, cheese, and spinach that you can try. Minced meat or sausage is very delicious. And for the sweet options, I was telling Natalie earlier about the shop in Salt Lake City, where I usually supply all my traditional fillings for collages. So guys, if you need to go there, this is the most traditional filling that you can fill up your collages with. It's a plum butter or plum jam. Looks like this. Our traditional plum butter is a little bit different to what you can usually get in stores like Whole Foods or any major supermarket. It's just tastes a little bit differently. And another very traditional filling for the collages is this. It's poppy seeds. Okay. Not sure if you ever had poppy seeds, but poppy seeds are small black seeds that we ground and make a filling from. As well, you can get the poppy seeds already made to a filling. So there is one particular store I can share with location or name. I forgot the name right now in Salt Lake, where you can look for very, very traditional Eastern European and Slovak fillings and groceries. Good. Perfect. Any questions so far? Everyone's ready to bake. Great. Just so you know, guys, we made the dough. Following the recipe, we should wait 1.5 hours up to 2 hours until the dough proofs properly, okay? The dough should double in size. After you knead the dough, you put it back to your bowl. You cover this bowl with the plastic foil or aluminum foil or clean towel, anything that you have, just to make sure that your dough won't dry out, okay? After 1 hour, maybe 1.5 hours, when your dough grows, gets double in size, you would move on with exactly what are we going to do now, okay? Because we don't have 1.5 hours to wait right now. Just so you know, next time you're making this, wait, it's better, okay? It's better. The dough will grow, it will be easier to work with it. So you know. Now, if you prefer, you can work with half of your dough right now, and other half leave proof in that bowl, cover with a plastic cover or aluminum foil, whatever you have. If you want to move on with the whole dough, you can move on with the whole dough, okay? So it's totally up to you, because we will moving on with rolling and shaping right away, okay? So we focus more on technical part today, how to do it. Next time, feel free to wait for longer time, okay? Perfect. Good. In next step, we'll still need some flour, because we'll need to flour our work desk. Don't put too much flour on your work desk, okay? We don't want to add too much flour into the dough. We'll need a rolling pin for rolling out the dough. Of course, jam or preserve that you have, and everything else can go on site, okay? Perfect. So we will be adding a little bit of flour on the work desk, and I bend my camera down just so you can see what exactly I'm doing. Okay. We'll add some flour on the work desk. I'm not adding too much. I'm just adding a little bit so my dough won't stick to it. Okay. Not too much. And you are taking half of amount of your dough that you have. Okay. So irrespective to fact, if you want to work with the whole dough or half dough, just cut it in half. So it's easier to work with the half of the dough rather than whole. Okay. So we start with the half of the dough that you have. If this is your whole dough, 400 grams of flour or 3 cups of flour, just cut it in half and work just with 1/2 right now, okay? So this is a half of the dough. Okay, and I'm putting it right in the center of my desk. Let's add some flour on the dough as well, just so our rolling pin won't stick to it. Okay. And if you're ready, you can start roll out your dough, preferably into square or rectangle shape, square or rectangle. Okay, so I'm rolling it out into square or rectangle. And I'm going to bring the dough closer to camera now, just so you can see how thick or thin the dough should be. Something like this, okay? If you can see my dough, I'm bringing it closer to camera now. So dough big like, or thick like this. This is what you want. Feel free to flip your dough while you are rolling it, okay, to the other side, just to make sure that you're rolling out everywhere same thickness. Okay. So roughly, again, I'm bringing dough closer to camera, roughly like this. No, not thinner than that, okay? We don't want to roll out too thin dough. And this is where I'm waiting for you. Natalie, just technical note. I think one person dropped, Julene, not sure why. At least she's not. Perfect, yes. Yeah. Sorry, Nancy, can you bring it a little bit closer? Okay, I would give it like one more roll and that's it, okay?
Since it's this big, should we make 2 collages with this?
Oh, we'll make at least 6 with this. We'll cut it at least in 6 pieces, okay? Julian is back, perfect. Amanda, yes, good, good, good. Good. Okay, Isaac, I would stop there. I would not need it more. This is good. We start with, oh, and you don't have to roll out the second dough yet, okay? We'll move on with second dough in a bit. We start with the dough that we just rolled out, okay? Good. If we guys rolled out the dough, we're cutting it. Depending on how big your dough is, you'll be cutting it into 4 or 6 pieces. I'm just bringing one piece closer to camera so you can see how big one piece roughly should be, okay? Roughly this big. My hand palm is small, okay? So roughly this big. Now, if you manage to cut it smaller or bigger, preferably smaller, no worry about that. It should be square or rectangle, okay? Square or rectangle. If it will be bigger or smaller, we'll just adjust amount of baking time, not amount, the length of baking time, how long we'll bake them. Okay, so this is where I'm waiting for you. This is equivalent to total amount of the quarter of your dough, okay? So I got 4 pieces. Perfect. This is where we are so far. We'll cut our dough. Now I'm going to show you one piece from the beginning till the end, how to fill it, how to close it, and how to shape it. Andrew Nancy, great, perfect. Yes, looks good. I'm going to show you one piece from beginning till the end. So I would love to ask you to watch first, and then you can go ahead and fill up all of your pieces that you cut. So I'm grabbing a jam. I'm taking roughly 1 teaspoon of the jam, and I'm putting it right into the center of my dough. Now I'm bringing this piece of the dough closer to camera just so you can see how to wrap it, but you don't do it in the air. Do it on your work desk. We're going to connect 2 opposite corners together on the top first, okay? We press it together. Other 2 opposite corners we bring together. So basically we press together 4 opposite corners, okay? And we ended up with these open sides that we don't want to have, because from here our filling could run out. So all we want to do is just to try to close all those open sides on the top, okay? So we're closing all those open sides on the top. It almost looks like Chinese bun, guys, right? But we don't want to have a Chinese bun. We want to get a Slovak Kolaches. So we are pressing down the pointy part of the dough. Everything is nicely sealed. Flipping it on the other side. And this is the shape of traditional Slovak Kolaches, okay? Sealed side is down. Putting it right next to me. And doing the same thing with all the other. That's it, okay? Perfect. Good, I see that Andrew's helping, great. Andrew, you can even do it on your work desk. Sometimes it's easier than doing it in the air, okay? Definitely try what works better for you. What I would like to say, guys, go easy on filling with first 1 or first 2 collages, because it can be a little bit tricky to wrap it. Sometimes it's not that easy to wrap it, okay? It takes some time to get a hang of it. So go easier on filling with maybe first 2 collages, okay, until you understand how to wrap it properly. And don't worry if some filling will run out or leak out, okay? You can still bake it, don't worry about that. So we are slowly wrapping each piece. What you want to try is seal all that jam, all that filling inside, okay? So you don't see any jam running out, okay? And really try to press the dough properly together. Okay, so it stays together, so it won't open while baking. Andrew, Nancy, guys, you can even put more filling in the middle, okay? Don't worry. You can definitely put a little bit more filling. Putting more filling, it's tastier, obviously. I think you're doing a great job already with wrapping them, so don't be afraid to put a little bit more filling. What you want to avoid is it's letting the jam to touch your corners of the dough, because if your jam touches the corners, it will be impossible to wrap the dough, okay? If it's wet, it will not stick together, just so you know. And we're doing a good job there, guys. Isaac, very nice. Natalie, looking good. Perfect. So we are slowly wrapping all collages. Again, maybe guys, if you want, if you have at home some other jam that you want to try, feel free to do it. You can fill each collages with different filling. Another option, if you have Nutella or chocolate spread, maybe you can try 1 or 2 with chocolate spread. If you have a nut filling, maybe from some baking, you can add some nut filling. Very traditional filling in Slovakia are crushed or ground walnuts combined with some sugar, lemon zest, and cinnamon. That is maybe one of my favorite fillings for collages besides the plum butter. So if you have variety of jams, feel free to try different kind of jams for fillings. Okay. And we're slowly closing, wrapping all our doughs, all our collages. Okay, perfect. Now, if you have a triangle or corner pieces, you have just 3 corners that you would be bringing together. If you have a squares, you would have 4 pieces, 4 corners that you would be bringing together. Okay. And looks good. You should already see the second half of the dough that we are not working with yet. That should be a little bit growing, slightly proving. Whoever is ready, I see that Andrew Nance is ready. Isaac's almost there. Okay, you guys can start looking for your baking pans. I see that you already have there that 8x8 baking pan. Perfect. If it's non-stick one, you can just transfer your collages with sealed side facing down into that baking pan, leaving maybe 1 to 2 centimeters in between each collages. Okay. So just to show you, if you're using, let's say maybe 8x8, we would be putting our collages like this. Okay. Perfect. So take your time, guys, no rush. Whoever gets to this point can place your collages into the baking pan. And before we bake them, we need to do one last thing, and that is egg wash. Okay, we'll egg wash our collages, and we'll put this half amount of collages that we just made into the oven right away while we are working on a second half of the dough. Okay, other half of the dough. So I'm just repeating, whoever is ready can transfer their collages into baking pan, and we're applying egg wash, which is combining 1 egg yolk and 2 tablespoons of milk. 1 egg yolk, 2 tablespoons of milk combined together in a small bowl or in a cup, and with a brush, just brush your collages from the top, okay, and bake it. So if we have a glass pan, I recommend lining it with parchment paper, okay? I recommend lining it with parchment paper. Definitely not greasing, guys. Don't grease a baking pan, okay? No oil, no butter. Reason why is simply because collages will burn out from the bottom. So please don't grease your baking pan. Use either parchment paper, or if it's non-stick, you don't have to use anything. Okay, I'll be making my collages today in this small baking pan. So 1 egg yolk, roughly 2 tablespoons of milk, or just splash of milk. Oh, I just realized, Natalie, that I'm live on Facebook. I didn't know. Okay, is anyone watching us? I hope maybe someone is baking with us as well.
I can check. Let's see.
Good. I should have let my friends to know so they would bake with us, but I guess it's gonna stay there. Good, perfect. Isaac, those look great. Let's just transfer them, yes, into the baking pan. Whoever transfer them and egg washed, okay, with 1 egg yolk, 2 tablespoons of milk, can then transfer into the oven. Temperature 350 to 370 degrees Fahrenheit. Let's try with 350. Let's start with 350. Beautiful. It's like this is a new way of wrapping collages. You just develop your own personal style. I like it a lot. Natalie, great. Looks good. That much space in between each other is enough. And again, egg wash and into the oven. Okay. Baking time, we start with 18 minutes. So whoever place collages into the oven, we would be baking them in a middle rack in the center of your oven, and we start with 18 minutes. Okay, and we'll check how they look and if they are ready. Okay. So after we egg wash into the oven, everyone please set up your own timer for 17 minutes, 17, 18 minutes, and then we'll check on collages, okay? Whoever got here can start work with the second half of the dough. Okay. And start work with the second half of the dough. That should already be a little bit bigger. Maybe it's approved a little bit more than the dough that we were just working with. If your dough is bouncing back, add some flour on it, okay? Add some flour, a little bit of flour to it, and it will be easier to roll it out. Okay. So I'm waiting for you here. No rush, guys. Take your time. Slowly make sure that you egg wash nicely your collages. Egg wash is very important because it provides all pastries a bit browning, but besides browning, it creates kind of crust on top of the pastry, and it protects pastry from drying out. Okay, so that's why egg wash is very important. And the reason why we use only egg yolk, it's simply from my experience, I find this to provide the most beautiful browning if you combine egg yolk and milk. Okay, that's why we are doing it. Great. I see Andrew is already working on a second dough. Perfect. I think, Andrew, that's good. That's good thickness. I would probably not go more than that. And that dough can be cut 6 to 8 pieces. If you want smaller collages, can be 8. If you cut it on 6, it will be bigger, but looks great already. Okay, so anyone whose collages are in the oven, I'm just repeating to set up the timer. Natalie, beautiful. Set up the timer for 18 minutes. Okay, Amanda, I will check on your collages a little bit earlier because I saw that they're smaller, so we might do 15, okay? I'll set up timer here for 15. Okay, perfect. I'm bending my camera again, and I'm taking that other half of the dough. My dough actually proved a little bit, guys, while we are working on the first half of the dough. And we are doing the same thing, okay? We're adding some flour on the work desk, a little bit of flour on the dough, and we are rolling out preferably rectangle or small squares. Okay. Now you know exactly what to do. Again, I'm bringing one piece closer to camera just to show you the size. Something like this. Okay. The dough should be pretty easy to work with. It should be fairly easy to roll out. Okay. So we are rolling out the dough. And if you ever happen not to have a rolling pin, a wine bottle, glass bottle perfectly works. Last time I was using my old traveling bottle that I use always when I go hiking. I was just rolling it out with my water bottle that works the same. So we can be creative with our work utensils, baking supplies. That works as well. So we are rolling and filling each piece of the dough. Okay. Maybe you want to try different fillings right now. As I said, if you happen to have maybe chocolate spread, Nutella, maybe guys, if you have ricotta at home, that is very delicious. If you combine it with some sugar, cinnamon, just make sure that your ricotta is not high in water. If there's a lot of water, just drain it. Drain that water. And you can add a teaspoon of ricotta, and even you can combine ricotta and plum ricotta and plum butter or whatever jam you have, okay? A little bit of ricotta, a little bit of jam into each piece of the dough. Very nice filling. Okay. And this dough should be fairly easy to wrap, okay? It should be fairly easy to stick together, okay? It shouldn't be too much opening, or it shouldn't be hard to wrap it, okay? I'm just bringing this one piece closer to camera just to show you again that we really want a nice and sealed bun, okay? Nice and sealed bun. And we are wrapping one by one. Okay. All sides nicely wrapped. Maybe for someone would be easier to do it in a hand as well, especially if you're wrapping that top of the dough. Okay. And as I mentioned earlier, from the same dough, guys, besides traditional Slovak Kolaches, you can make 4 to 5 different kinds of pastries, or all are very traditional Eastern European pastries. So what we are making now, it's traditional Slovak Kolaches, okay? Now, I know that in Salt Lake City, especially, there is one shop called Hruška's Collages. Maybe you heard of it. And they make a little bit different kolaches. By the way, hruška means in Slovak pear. What kind of kolaches they are making? It's Czech style, okay? It's called Moravian kolaches that you bake with a filling uncovered. So you would just roll out the dough, the same dough that we just made. You would grab a wine glass or a water glass, and you would cut out the circles of the dough, okay? And onto each circle, you would put the filling, either jam or maybe ricotta filling or nuts, and you would just bake it as it is, okay, with the filling uncovered. So that is the Czech style of kolaches. It's called Moravian kolaches, okay? Then another pastry that you can make with the same dough is that you would not roll out the dough this thin. You would leave it a little bit thicker. You would take a baking pan, some 8 by 8, and you would just spread that dough on a baking pan. And you would put the seasonal fruit on it, either prunes or peach or even apples or berries, okay? Raspberries, blueberries, strawberries on the top of it. Again, some ricotta or jam on top of it can be as well, and you would just bake it as it is. So there are a variety of recipes, traditional Slovak recipes, that we prepare and make with the same dough that we are just making. As I mentioned, I will follow up with the recipe and all of those recipes with you after the class, so you can have it for next time when you're making that pastry, okay? Just so you know that you can play around. Great, Natalie, I see that you're making variety, savory variety with feta cheese. Very nice idea. You guys can try to make savory fillings as well. Feta cheese, for example. Feta and spinach is very nice. Isaac says that you have some fresh peaches. Sure, you can put fresh peach. What I would do, I would chop it on smaller cubes before I would add it to it. Okay, so if you have fresh fruits, feel free to use it. Raspberries, strawberries, fig is very nice as well. If you would happen to have a fig, it would be not a traditional Slovak, right? Because figs are more of Middle Eastern fruit, but you can definitely put it. Fresh peach, yes. Oh, Amanda, you're trying Moravian version, Czech version of kolaches? Good. That's good. Exactly. Do what you're doing.
Yeah, that's actually what I grew up with. My my grandfather's from Czechoslovakia, and so we had these, and I thought it was the same dough with the filling. So
exactly the same, exactly. So that's what because I teach a lot of classes on these traditional Slovak Kolaches, and many times people are so surprised, especially people from Texas or Philadelphia, where there is a strong Czechoslovak community. Like, what are we baking? This is not Kolaches. This is not what we know, right? And I'm like, you guys probably know the Czech Kolaches. That's a little bit different, but it's the same dough. So the only thing, you do what you do with your cups, and then on the top of it, in the center, you put your jam, ricotta, walnuts, almonds, whatever you have, jam traditionally, and the sides where there is no filling, just egg wash. Okay, same egg wash, and put it into the oven.
Okay.
And that's easier too. As well, okay. Perfect, guys. Whoever is ready and is still waiting for the first batch to be baked in the oven, just cover those collages with clean towel, okay? They will be proving under that clean towel while we are ready to put them into the oven, okay? So you can transfer them into baking pan, but cover that baking pan with clean towel and let them prove for a couple of minutes, okay? Maybe for 4 or 5 minutes while we are waiting for collages to be baked. Okay, Julian, how is it going? How are you doing?
Just fine.
Perfect.
Can't wait to eat them.
Perfect. Is your dough sticking together?
Yeah, no, it's fine.
It's fine. Good. Good. Perfect. Perfect. So again, whoever is ready with the second batch of the collages can just cover those collages with clean towel, okay, while you're waiting to bake them. Clean towel, and just leave them on your work desk to prove for a little bit longer. If they're proving under the towel, they prove faster and bigger, okay? Feel free to cover them with something, okay? I covered my second batch with clean towel while I'm waiting for the first batch to be baked. And whoever is ready can melt some butter if you want to, because this is how we finish up our collages traditionally, with some melted butter that we sprinkle on the top and with some powdered sugar that we dust on baked collages. So if you have at home powdered sugar, okay, you can use it. And if you have a tablespoon or 2 tablespoons of butter, you can start melting it on a stove top, okay? After collages are baked, we will sprinkle or just wash collages with some melted butter on top. It will be very delicious, okay? So we'll check on them in 2-3 minutes and see if we need to bake longer or not. So we're almost there. You guys are doing great. I hope you're not too tired yet. It's a little bit work demanding, I know, but it will be definitely worth it. It's very, very delicious pastry. And making it for the first time, all of you are doing very good. Very nice work.
Odd question, but where did you get that sticky top for your flour jar? What is that? That's cool. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so I'm going to show you. This is a good thing. This is a Bebex foil. You can get it from the local stores. I got it from Amazon. This is basically a reusable thing. Natalie has the same thing. This is instead of the plastic foils that you toss after every use. It can be washed 170 times, they say, under the running water. You can wrap your cheese, vegetables, butter into it, and it stays fresh for a longer time. And I'm just covering my flour with that as well. So it's like zero waste or reusable options instead of using foils or plastic covers.
Very cool. Thanks.
Yeah, sure. Julian, maybe you can find it in your local store. Ask for it. If there is demand, there should be supply. And on Amazon for sure. Natalie,
Okay.
maybe you know.
Yeah, I know that Swanner Preserve has it. Oddly
Oh,
enough.
okay.
And also REI carries it. So if you're willing
Great.
to drive down to the Mill Creek REI, they have it.
Okay, thanks.
Pretty, Natalie? Natalie, if you can cover that, yes. Collages are baked together. Can I see it, please?
Mine or whose?
No.
Oh.
This is totally fine. Don't worry about if they kind of touch each other. How you eat them and how you take them out, you just pull one from another after it's baked. So this is totally fine, but they need some more time, okay? 4 or 5 minutes more until they get kind of more brown from top. As well, if your oven is set to 350 Fahrenheit, please put it slightly higher to 360 maybe, okay? And my timer just went off, so I'm gonna check on my collages just to show you guys how they look. And check myself. Okay. All right, so this is something we're looking for. If you can see, okay? Not sure if you can see here. This is kind of browning, but be careful because browning very much depends on how your oven bakes and how much egg wash you applied. Sometimes your collages might not be that brown, okay? And might be done, okay? So something like this. Isaac, you guys a little bit longer time, but looks good already. Actually, if they stick together, that's not a bad thing. That usually happens, and that's how it is. Especially if your dough is was not proof for too long, they are kind of expanding even more in the oven, okay? So that's totally fine, don't worry about that. Who thinks their collages are ready? Anyone want to check on them? No, not yet. Can be 18 minutes, it can go up to 25 minutes, guys, okay? So don't worry about that. It can go longer. Then 18. Amanda, I would check on yours. Yours were a little bit smaller, not yet? Okay.
Yeah, I checked. Not yet.
Okay, and that was I experienced. I'm telling you guys, I was in Utah 2 weeks ago, and I had a class there, and collages were baked for almost 27 minutes. I was baking in Park City, and I was very confused. Why is that? I don't know if it's elevation or if it's just the oven temperature, but if I work and bake this exact recipe here in New York, it just bakes faster. So I would say 25 minutes. Okay, depending on your oven as well. As I mentioned, I will be sending recipes for this exact, I'll be sending recipe for what we just did, I think to you, Natalie.
Yeah, you can send them to me. Otherwise, I can share emails and you can send it out that way. I was just gonna say my collages are doing something really interesting, and I don't know why it happened, but I'm gonna try to show it to you.
Good. What might happen as well, guys, if your collage is open and feeling it out, don't worry about that.
My top is separating from the rest.
Okay, can you take it out from the oven, Natalie, and put it on the stove top so I can see it's a little bit of shade? If they're opened, I think that what happened is they opened, some filling and jam is around. That might create that they separated from each other.
It could be. It looks like the bottom is separate from the top now.
No, it's okay. It's okay. They just open. What happened, Natalie? Next time, if you prove your dough, so they nicely expand while they proof, they will not break in the oven. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, they look like they just burst, but they smell so good.
They look great already. Can you show them one more time? I think they are done, Natalie, as well. Maybe 3-4 minutes just to make sure that they are baked through.
Okay.
Okay, and as well, let me show you mine, guys, what you should look for at the bottom. Just a little bit hot. Okay, okay, they are kind of brown from the bottom as well, okay? This happens if you didn't use parchment paper. If you use parchment paper and if you baked in a glass bakeware, your bottom will not be that brown. It's just a matter of fact, okay? It will not be that brown, but it will be baked, okay? It will be good. How to test your collages? Another way is just take a skewer Where's skewer? This is a skewer. I think I pronounced it correct, right? This thing, and just put it, insert it to one of your collages and take it out, preferably where there is no filling. If it comes out clean without any raw dough, it's done, okay? Just so you know. Otherwise, up to 20. Okay, Andrew, that looks good. Okay, again, they are not as brown, which might be reason because of the less egg wash or less hot oven. Andrew, can you take one with your glove and check it from the bottom? How they look from the bottom? And we'll see how it looks. Okay, good. This is a browning that we want. Very good. And as well, Andrew, if you feel them from the top, they should be nice and kind of crispy or kind of hard shell, okay? If this is it, that's done, okay? Maybe I will put them back for 2 more minutes just to make sure, and that's done, Andrew, no more than that. We don't want to bake for too long, guys. We don't want to dry out the pastry, okay? So maybe 2 more minutes. Isaac, guys, 2 more minutes, and that's it as well. Okay, that's enough. What language people speak in Slovakia? We speak Slovak, okay? We speak Slovak. People in Czech Republic speak Czech, so it's very similar. We have our own language, but we understand each other. It's not Russian, but I can understand a little bit of Russian, even though they have their own alphabet, okay? Thank you for your question. Yes, that's done. That's done. Beautiful. Very nice. Very nice, guys. If you want to, some melted butter on top, some powdered sugar, and that's good. Amanda, can you take one and check it from the bottom? That looks good. Are they kind of like hard? Do they have a kind of like a shell? Good. Guys, whoever is ready to open one and try it, be careful not to burn your mouth. Natalie, done, okay? If you want to check one, guys, either open it with your fingers, be careful, or just cut it with your knife, just to check if they're ready. And I think that's it. All of you, okay? Especially if you can separate one from each other. Natalie, maybe I would wait with your collages because all are baked together and they're kind of touching each other as they open. So I would wait to let them cool down for 10, 15, 20 minutes, okay? Otherwise, if you bake like Amanda or Isaac or Andrew, that they're separately, you can check one. Just pull one from another. Be careful, don't burn yourself. You can use fork, maybe knife, okay? Just to pull it out. And looks good, okay? How you will finish them up, again, with melted butter, powdered sugar. Traditionally, we eat them for breakfast with coffee or milk. If you happen to end up with a bunch of collages and you don't know what to do with them, you can freeze them, okay? After they're cold, after they're really cold, not room temperature, cold, you can put them into Ziploc bag or container and freeze them in the oven. Isaac, wow, that looks great. Perfect, good. If you want to try it, be careful. Don't burn your mouth, don't burn your tongue, especially with the jam. It can be very tricky. And that looks great already. Who is ready to try, guys? At least one person needs to give a feedback on collages. Who is ready to bite into it? Isaac taking challenge? Good. Well, first you let me know how you like it. It looks good. Okay, good, perfect. Very nice work, guys. Good work today.
Thank you so much. They're amazing.
Julian, did you try? Perfect.
Yeah,
How they turned? Nice?
Yeah.
Are they brown from top?
Uh-huh.
Perfect.
Yeah, I want to experiment with some other fillings too.
Definitely do. I will be following up with filling options as well, just so you can have it for next time if you want to try walnut filling or poppy seeds, whatever you manage to find. I'll follow up with Natalie with recipe and fillings. Otherwise, great work today, guys. Thank you very much for joining me today. Natalie, feel free to share my blog if you want to, where I share my recipes, traditional Slovak Eastern European recipes, and where I teach a bunch of classes as well. If you would be interested in other of my baking and cooking classes, I'll be happy to see you in some of my other classes.
Thank you so much, Lenka. I'm so excited. Mine smells so good. I need to let them cool down though, because they are all stuck together, but thank you. These are so tasty. We have someone, oh, Isaac says 10 out of 10, and that is great. He says thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much, guys. We'll keep in touch and enjoy your pastry.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye, everyone.